Diana said something to me in our last consultation, is that this is designed to heal your body at a cellular level. There's not much out there that does that. I'm not sure any tablet I'm going to take is going to heal me at a cellular level. So that has been really quite impactful for me to hear that and learn that. Because it's like, well, yeah, I can see the evidence of that in my 2 blood tests, the ones I had prior to starting and the ones I had when I lost, 20 kilos, which was my goal, was to just lose 20 kilos. And, the bonus for me is that I packed a whole heap of clothes into a container because we live on a boat. That clothes that I fitted in 2016 is like, oh, I can get that back on now, which is quite exciting. So I've bought new clothes, but I can go back and get old ones and no one knows that I've had that for 10 years, so that's all right.
Hello and welcome to the Metabolic Balance Stories podcast. This is where we share real stories and insights to help you on your journey to optimal health with personalized nutrition and metabolic balance. I'm Cherry Wills. I'm your host, and today I am delighted to welcome Sandra Davidson. Sandra is a client from New Zealand. She worked with her coach, Diana Burgess. And it's just so wonderful to have you here and learn what happened for you. Hello, Sandra.
Hi, Cherry.
So I want to know exactly whatever you can share with us, because, first of all, let's start at the beginning. So sort of where was your health and what led you to start working with Diana?
What led me to start working with Diana is that I'd been living in Australia for a long time, and I came back in 2017 for my beautiful husband now. And at that time, I was 49, 4 weeks off turning 50, and menopause hit. And I came back to New Zealand, had all the food I hadn't had for a long time, and I just started gaining weight. And then I tried different things and I just couldn't lose weight. I went to my doctor. I was mortified when I saw on my record that I was obese, because I'd spent most of my life being not obese, always not having to battle my weight, just a few little kilos in my 40s, but had that under control. And I went to my doctor and was just really quite frustrated with everything. And thankfully, she has a real holistic approach to life and health, and isn't one to really stick a pill into you and things like that. And we discussed what options are available. I'm not really a person that thinks that a pill's going to cure the problem. It'll solve the situation, but it doesn't fix it long term for me. And she recommended I go and see Diana. So I booked an appointment and went and saw Diana. And I think I went and saw Diana in May. That was my first initial consult with Diana. And then I think I started on about June the 6th is when I actually started my whole weight loss.
Yeah. So that was May 2025. And so this is now six months? Yeah, January. So 6 months you've kind of gone through. So, I mean, what I was probably gleaning from that is before you started, you were just not feeling like yourself anymore, which I think is a really classic thing that so many women going through that menopausal, perimenopausal transition, that's what we feel.
Yeah, and it affects your mental health. And you think that you feel like you're feeling okay, but you're not. You're not at your best. You're not feeling like you've got any vitality or want to be giving life a good shake. You're just quite ho-hum in a degree, and you're just plodding along. And I can see how easy it is to just stay in that comfortable zone. And for me, I was really quite frustrated at not knowing things that I was trying wasn't working. And with social media and everything that we have, there are so many things coming at us for try this, try that. And you can try so many things. And I don't believe that they have the impact or the lifelong results that I believe that I'm going to get with Metabolic Balance. Because I'm now at the stage where I have to maintain, and that's a new challenge in itself. And I come from a background where I had a mum who was a Weight Watchers leader for 40 years. So I've been surrounded by this keeping yourself on a good weight for life. And so I had access to that education, but it wasn't it didn't feel that it was right for me. And what really has been the thing for me with metabolic balance is that it's tailored to me. It's all about me. It's not my mate next door. And I've had one of my really good mates do this, and I'm like, "Oh, you've got this on your program. I don't have that." Like, so hers is completely different to mine. So that has been a real win for me, that this is solely about me. I'm not part of 100,000 people doing the same program as somebody else expecting the same results. This is tailored to me and my health.
Yeah. And I think that's where the results come from, because it's and where the frustration beforehand really was. And I often feel so sad when people do put an awful lot of effort into trying to be healthy, but they just aren't getting the results.
Yeah. And I know that we can all put our own roadblocks in the way for not getting results and have excuses why we don't. Um, but for me, it definitely was the combination of foods that I was eating, and highlighting what I already knew were intolerances, and it's just like, no, I just can't do that anymore. I just can't do that. And also, when I was going through the coaching with Diana, a couple of things that she said to me when not in the initial consult, but in the consult when she was giving me my program, and she's like, trust the process. And I'm like, yes, 100% trust the process, because I knew that if I did anything little or cheated, then I wouldn't get the results. Um, and it was quite simply, I had to cross that line and go, yeah, I believe in this, and I'm going to trust this process, because I've trusted other processes and they didn't necessarily, they didn't work. And I did just that was my mantra, just keep trusting the process. And, you know, if I had a day where I was not having such a great day, just go to myself, it's one day. Don't make it 2 days. Just make it one day. Just keep going, and just eyes on the prize, really.
Yeah, and I think it's that, just, you're not a robot. It's we're human beings that sometimes we don't get it quite right, or, like, things happen or life happens and you're just not quite ticking that box or whatever it is. And then you kind of pick yourself up all the time, and it's that, you there's that phrase, I'm thinking of a business phrase actually coming to my mind, "Fail quickly." It's like you learn quick, get up, redo, and make it happen again. But I think, one of the things, you have, or you had, when you were first getting on MB, was the real steps to know what to do.
Oh, absolutely. And, like, there's flexibility with the choices that you can do in relation to how much input you have from your coach, like how many sessions you want to have with your coach, which I felt was, I made that decision that I wanted to have X amount of sessions, because I thought I will have questions along the way, which there's always access to that. But the one-on-one, I knew that would keep me accountable. And that way, face to face, I could really be quite raw and say, well, this is what I'm having a struggle with. And there were definitely things that I found quite interesting, like talking to family members and things like that. And it's like, they're going, oh, how are you going? I'm like, oh, well, I found that I definitely have a definite sugar addiction. And I said, I don't feel like I was eating a lot of sugar. And they go, oh, I don't eat that much sugar. I went, well, you have this. And they're like, oh, yeah, okay. And it just, because I just kept my food really simple as well. I just kept it really simple, um, and didn't make it fancy. And both my husband and I love going out for fabulous meals, and, it's a highlight as having a nice meal and stuff. But I did just keep it simple, because I knew if I started messing with it, I wouldn't get the outcome that I needed. And I said to Diana quite early on that, because you do the blood tests, and for me, I, you know, your gene pool, the DNA that you get given, the genes are what you get given, and what you do to it, it's the loaded gun, and what you do is the bullet that comes out. And, I knew my family history with heart disease and blood pressure and high cholesterol and things like that. So I said to Diana, I said, I want to do my results when I've achieved my goal weight. I want to do my blood tests again. And I've just done that recently with her. And it was great to see all the improvements, because I said to her, what I want to find out is if my outcomes are environment based from what I'm consuming, or whether they are some gene related things, or there's something underlying there that I need to do more about, which has been fantastic to do that. And yeah, so some things came about. It's like, oh, my body doesn't absorb things as well as it should. And I said to her, well, that's not really a surprise, but at least now I've got some evidential proof.
You know now where you supplement, what you actually need to do, where you need to support yourself. Yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And that for me, and I went into it knowing that that's what I wanted to do, was to get that outcome. It's like, well, is my cholesterol where it should be? Is everything else where it should be? And, the results, the difference in the results been fantastic. And it was like, it's from the inside out.
Mm. Yeah. So let's talk about that. Let's talk about where were you when you started? What were the numbers? So you were, how old were you?
I was 58 when no, 57 when I started. I just turned 58 in November. Um, and then I was 92 kilos, and I jumped on the scales a few days ago, and I was 69.
Awesome. And how tall are you?
1.70 m.
Okay, so 1.70 m, you were 92 kilos when you started, and was that the heaviest you'd probably ever been?
Hell yes. just, and I was mortified that my doctor's record had obese on it. I'm like, oh God.
I don't think you shouldn't be more, just to say, anybody, I know it's the feeling, isn't it? It's the feeling and what feels like you. Yeah.
Yeah. But I found once I started, because I felt I had a lot of puffiness. And I think within the first couple of weeks, that puffiness went.
Yeah. Yeah, it does.
I didn't have big numbers in the first few weeks. It was just continual.
But you felt a difference. That's the thing as well, though, didn't you?
Absolutely.
Because that's what happens. You feel a difference within a few days even. Would you agree with that?
I'd say so, because it states that, don't exercise for the first couple of weeks. And I had my first appointment with Diana, after a couple of weeks. And she said, oh, how do you feel? I said, look, I could exercise now. I said, I'm not feeling a lack of energy. I'm feeling I immediately felt more energized. I didn't go through a slump or anything like that. I actually felt quite energized to start with.
And what about any other sort of symptoms? How was your sleep? How was your energy? You've already mentioned lots of your digestion and that kind of thing.
Yeah, my digestion was great. I did discover that I've got gallstones.
Ah, really?
Yeah, I had which was an interesting way to find out, because there were things that just I couldn't have, and I had a couple of moments where I just went, oh, I'm gonna have a couple of teaspoons of this ice cream, and it triggered, a gallstone attack, which was in a way, it was incredibly painful, but also too, it's like, well, I'm not ever doing that again, am I? Because I just went, all the consequences for me are not great. But energy-wise, just feel much better. I can run now, not that I go running, but just feel much easier to get around and things like that, even up and downstairs.
Yeah. And your sleep? I mean, I'm always intrigued by sleep.
Yeah, I'm a pretty good sleeper. So it's been better. I'm not having as many of the night sweats. Definitely not having as many of the night sweats that I was having. Um, we live on a boat, so it's still quite close quarters. So
That's quite cool. You live on a boat. I love that. So share with us then, sort of how did you find the planning and the day-to-day, like focusing? Because I imagine you're a pretty busy woman. You have things on and you're working and that kind of stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, I do work, just got organized, like, know that I, have to make my breakfast and lunch at night so that it's ready to go for the next day. So I'm not, in a situation where I'm like, "Well, what am I going to eat?" And we went on holiday. We had a couple of things happen, like, we had one situation happen where we had, like, a bit of a family emergency,
Mhm.
and, in that situation when it's a little everyone's stressed and emotions are running high, you tend to make choices emotionally for food. So I just went, "Well, I've got to just get water and deal with it because now's not the time to fall apart emotionally or food-wise." So when things cropped up, I just kept on track, and same with when we went on holidays, um, you know, going to different places for meals during the day and stuff. There wasn't always choices that worked for what I could eat, or the choices that were there weren't really the portion size that I was allocated. In some cases, for mine, because I had quite generous portions, it wasn't enough. And particularly in those first couple of months, it was really quite important to be sticking to that. So I just ended up buying a little lunchbox and packing my lunch all the time. So that's what I just kept doing, is like packing my lunch, making sure my lunch is packed, making sure my breakfast is made before I go to bed. And that keeps me going. And the weekends, I probably not so much such a stickler because I'm like, well, I've got time to do it in the weekends. I've got a little bit more flexibility with time.
Yeah. And isn't that, I mean, I love that because I mean, you really just voiced how important it is to go with real life. You can't stop real life. Real life is always going to happen. But at the same time, you just have to keep looking after yourself as best you can. And then when you can do a little bit better or you can be a little bit more focused, you are more focused, and other times you be pragmatic about it. You just kind of, you go with what you can do and the best you can do at any point in time. And I think that's one of such an important thing to learn as well for maintenance, for long term lifestyle. We always want to have the gorgeous restaurant meals that are special with loved ones and the holidays, but actually, it's the in between those times where we've got to look after ourselves really well to make sure that we can do that stuff.
Yeah, and I think what I caught from the situation when we had the family emergency was, don't allow myself to emotionally eat. And it's such an easy thing to do, is to emotionally eat. And I'm guilty of it. I do it, and I have done it.
I would say, is there anybody who isn't? It's a form of hunger. It's a comfort. We are
Absolutely.
people do, yeah.
Yeah. So it's just like when those times happen, making sure that I chose well.
Yeah, amazing. Mm. And isn't it interesting? Because think this is something that's really common for a lot of people in general, is when things are really busy, then you put your own needs to the bottom of your to-do list, and the everybody else is more of a greater priority than maybe your own food and drink. And actually, that's the natural instinctive thing to do. Okay, I've got to look after all these, like, whatever it is, so I haven't got time to sort out my breakfast. I haven't got time to 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 do it. That will do. That sandwich from the petrol station will do, whatever, that kind of thing. But actually, if you don't look after yourself, you can't do anything else. It's that whole paradox.
Absolutely. And I think from doing this, what I found is that I feel like I've got much better health than what I had. And I just had to get rid of the excuses. I had my reason why. It's just like, I'm 58 now. I don't want to be going into my 60s reliant on medication, feeling unhealthy. You know, we've got a little, 2.5-year-old grandson with and we want to be able to play with him and get around outside with him and things like that. And, we're sure there's going to be more grandchildren. We want to be grandparents that are active with them and, can enjoy time with them. Yeah.
Yeah, you want to actually have a lovely longevity of good health and then see him getting married and, you know actually really be present
Absolutely.
and enjoying the time. Time is so precious.
Absolutely. Well, they say kids spell love Time.
Yes.
So, and I guess it was just like I had to just get rid of all the excuses why not, and just focus on my why, and just clear all the roadblocks, and really I did just hone in on what Diana said to me, which was trust the process. Just trust the process. And I think that in part of trusting the process, you have to trust yourself that you can do this. And when I started getting results, I'm like, I can sure hell do this. You know, I was really proud that I was doing it because I'm like, you know what? I'm not giving up. I'm sticking to it and I'm doing it because I know the outcome that I'm going to get is going to make me feel really good.
Yeah. Do you think, I mean, was there something that beside talking to, I mean, like you said, you were referred by your doctor and then you spoke to Diana. Was there any other external support or prompts that said, yeah, this is really worthwhile doing? I'm going to say yes to this opportunity.
I didn't really know of anybody else had done it until I saw Diana. Then I knew that there was a lady in the same workplace as I have that I work in that had done it. So then we connected. But I think we hear, like indirectly, I think we hear about metabolic balance in a way via sources that we don't realize what it is. You hear about celebrities and things like that doing diets that are, you know, targeted purely for them. And I really did think that that was something very out of my reach. But when I did this, I went, this is in everyone's reach. Everyone can do this. And, I said I've already had a friend do it, and we had a mutual workmate get in touch with me last week and say, hey, I bumped into her. Um, she said you've been doing it. I just said, look, hands down, I can't recommend this highly enough, you know. And she asked me various questions and said, look, the only thing that's going to stop you is yourself. That's what's going to stop you. I said, but there's support all the way through. Any questions I have had, I've had them answered. You know, it is, I don't think it's difficult to do. Um, it is just, I think, a simple case of you've just got to be organized. And one really good, like one surprise for us is that our food bill actually went down.
Yes, it does. It shows where you are spending. We spend money so much on the little things that you just don't even think about.
Yeah, absolutely. And just, we were like, oh, that's not costing us as much money. So, and everyone is bitching about food prices.
Yes. Yeah. And it's like everything is, because you are so targeted and you are, really getting some, the food that you really are going to eat. There's very little food wastage.
Absolutely. Agreed. Completely agreed because yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So, if is there anything that, I think you've kind of probably answered this question actually, that you would share with somebody who's thinking of doing MB? I mean, it is a mindset. It's a decision at the end of the day to say, yeah, you're worth it. I'm worth it. I'm going to give this a go for myself. I'm going to give this to my future self as well. I'm going to learn. I'm going to get healthy and enjoy it. What would you say?
And I think, like particularly if you have younger people in your life, you've got to walk the talk, you know. Like honestly, I think that if somebody's contemplating doing this, find your reason why. Know your reason why. Don't do it because somebody else wants to do it, because you're never going to achieve anything by doing that. But find your reason why. Get rid of your roadblocks. If you're not succeeding at it, don't ask your coach why you're not succeeding at it. Ask yourself why you're not succeeding at it. Be accountable to yourself. Don't look at this as that this is somebody else fixing this for you. All they're doing is like, here's the tools, you now have to build the house. But here's the plan, here's everything in place. We'll give you the measurements, you just have to measure it and do it. And I think that if you don't succeed at this, it's because you've put roadblocks in their way for yourself. So it's like, get rid of the roadblocks, find your reason why, write it on a wall if you have to. If it's maybe spending times with your loved ones, stick that photo of your loved ones up so you look at it every day. Stick it on your mirror when you look in the mirror and go, that's my reason why. And when you're stumbling, reach out for help and support. And if you're having a bad day, just go, I'm going to allow myself to have one bad day, not 2 bad days. If I have 2 bad days, phone the coach, get in touch with the coach, and just get back on track. And trust the process.
Thank you for sharing that. The importance of the coach, I think, is coming pretty loud and clear to you here. And this is, so many people try to do it themselves. And it's almost in our society, it's like everybody somehow we should do things ourselves all the time. And then when we don't get results, we are now the problem. And actually, what if you actually just worked with somebody who will really support you and answer your questions, point you in the right direction, teach you, and then you're self-reliant and resilient, because now you're pretty much ready to kind of do what you need to do now for the future, but you've got Diana there if ever anything happened and you needed to ask her something.
Absolutely. And it's also like there's just such a good foundation there that you can go back to the beginning if you need to go back to the beginning. There's just that, you've got all the paperwork there, you've got all your plan there to know exactly what you need to do. And when you're having that time, you can go back to it. And I think that, like you say, we get so conditioned that we shouldn't ask for help. Asking for help's the wrong thing to do, but it's not. The wrong thing to do is to not ask for help. And, it's, for me, I've found it very supportive. Um, so, and I think it's great.
Yeah, I will just share just a little bit to, resetting with your plan. I know you're 6 months in now, you're kind of in this. Resetting with your plan is something that you probably will find that you need to do maybe every 18 months, maybe every 2 years. Some people love to do a little 2-week reset every year. I got my very first plan 13 years ago when I first trained in MB. And so I've been doing resets pretty much throughout my 40s, and I'm now, 52. And I'm on a reset right this minute. I actually started my reset on Saturday, just gone, and already I've because basically there was nothing really. I just felt a little bit sluggish, over Christmas. I didn't feel quite myself. I actually had put on about 3 kilos heavier than I normally like to sit, and I have you have that sort of happy weight. I've already released 2 of them, feeling so much better. My clothes are feeling normal again for me. And I'm like, yeah, this is what and all you have to do is just, you kind of wake up in the morning and go, yeah, I think I'm doing a reset today. Yep. This next 2 weeks, I'm focused, I'm on it. And that's all you have to do. Yeah.
Yeah. And yeah, and you've just, it's a simple foundation. And I think what I was pleasantly surprised at is I just found it quite simple.
It is simple. It is simple. Yeah.
And it's not complicated. So, and it took some adjusting, it did take some adjusting because, like I work a job where I, start at 7 o'clock in the morning and I have my first break at 9 and then my next one at 11 and then my next one at 1. So I was used to having a snack at 9 and a snack at 1, but it's like, no, that I'll just have my water.
Yeah. But it shows, with the right sort of actual mindset, the right sort of why, as you say, the why is so important, isn't it? You just go, yeah, this is what I want. And I think when human beings find what they want and they kind of have that roadmap that can take them to it, which is what it is. It's a health roadmap, takes you where you want to be. to be honest, there can be nothing stopping you.
Absolutely. And Diana said something to me in our last consultation, is that this is designed to heal your body at a cellular level. There's not much out there that does that. I'm not sure any tablet I'm gonna take is gonna heal me at a cellular level. So that has been really quite impactful for me to hear that and learn that, because it's like, well, yeah, I can see the evidence of that in my 2 blood tests, the ones I had prior to starting and the ones I had when I lost, 20 kilos, which was my goal, was to just lose 20 kilos. And, the bonus for me is that I packed a whole heap of clothes into a container because we live on a boat. Um, that clothes that I fitted in 2016, it's like, "Oh, I can get that back on now," which is quite exciting. So I've I've bought new clothes, but I can go back and get old ones and like, no one knows that I've had that for 10 years, so that's all right.
No, because ain't nobody like locally has seen you in that because it is new.
Yeah, and I said to my husband, I said, "I need some summer dresses," and, "Oh, that's all right, I've already got some."
How fun is that? So again, we're not wasting. This is great for the planet. This is great for the planet. We're amazing, amazing. So thank you, Sandra. I think that has been so insightful. I've loved hearing your story, and I am obviously thrilled that you are living the life now that you want, and that you're getting the results you have, and that you're thriving. And isn't that just what we want for all of our loved ones and family and friends? You just want them to thrive.
Yeah, and I've had people that I've met that have given it a go and they said, "Oh, it didn't work for me." I said, "Look, different strokes for different folks," and again, it's down to you. It's down to you if it doesn't work, not down to the program, like down to what the meals are and stuff like that. It's down to your decisions about things. So I think it's great, and I'm really, really, I'm so grateful I did it. And it was a great way to start 2026, you know, 22 kilos lighter than what I started 2025.
Amazing. Thank you, Sandra. That's been wonderful. And if anyone else listening would love to hear more about metabolic balance, you can check out the website. And be inspired. Allow yourself to say yes to things. I think that's the message we're getting. Just say yes and give it your all. Doesn't have to be perfect. It's life will throw you a few curveballs, and all it is you just get up again, you keep going, you keep your eye on where you want to be, and make the decisions that work for you. That's pretty much what we've shared. Would you not agree, Sandra?
Totally. Absolutely.
Wonderful. Thanks ever so much. And do catch up with us again, where we will have more metabolic balance stories.
Thanks, Cherry.